I'm Maggie.
And I'm Maddie.
And we're going to talk to you today about morphology and lexicon. So, morphology is a study of the forms of the words, and this is when the phrases of words can mean the same thing, but they can mean something, they mean the same thing in different languages. So, I could break apart that word or that phrase and show the students that it means the same thing in two different languages. So, I have some examples up here on the board. So bonjour in French means it means hello. Ciao is Italian and it also means hello. And hola is in Spanish and that means hello. And this is how those countries say hello in those languages. But in English, we just say hello or hi.
Okay, and then lexicon is slang words that a group of people use to communicate with each other. These words are just common knowledge that you have heard your peers talk about, and they can be used quite often. ELLs will need to know these terms just to help their social experience so they know what their peers are talking about, but they also need to understand the meaning of it and how to use it in correct context. So some challenges that students would face with both morphology and lexicon would be
the meaning of the words,
how to spell and write each word,
and they also need to learn how to communicate with people using L2. So now we're going to tell you about some of the activities that we have come up with for morphology and lexicon.
So we're going to start with lexicon. And since it's slang words, what better way to learn slang words than by using note cards? So I would have a bunch of words written on note cards and each student would draw one. So the student would say on point and then I would say like, okay, does anybody know what on point means? And if they don't, then I would say it means you're looking good, everything's fine, everything's good. And another one is rad, and that means cool. Wrecked means you're tired. I'm starving means I'm hungry. And then bae means like your boyfriend or girlfriend. And then once I felt like they learned those slang words and the meaning of them, I would then have them try and practice using them in conversations. Since they will be hearing these words and using these words with their peers, it's important that they know how to use them correctly. And I think by starting off using the note cards and then practicing them more and more as they get more comfortable, then they can practice it on their peers that are also ELLs.
Now I'm going to talk to you about some ideas and activities to do for ELLs that are learning morphology. So one way that we have talked about in class and on discussions is just labeling things in L1 and L2. And this is also morphology because it's giving those students their L1 and their L2. Another thing that I could do is I could write a different language on the board like I have up here, and then as a class we could talk about the English translation for the word or the phrase that I have on the board. And then another great way or great tool and activity to do would be just to get a worksheet and make and use lots of different words, that have L1 and L2 on it, and then I would have all of my students work on that independently, and then we could come together as a class and we can talk about the worksheet. I would have my students turn it in to me first, and then I would look and see if they're understanding or getting the meaning of what those words mean, and the translation with it. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you learned a little bit about morphology and lexicon.
Thanks.